Okay, we're going to start the meeting. So, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start our meeting. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. T.J. Williams is going to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And invocation will be by Deacon Nathaniel Foley from Set Free Church in Winter Valley.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, fellow community members. I want to thank you for welcoming me here to do this invocation. Let us pray. Father in heaven, Lord of hosts, we stand before you today, men and women created in your image. You created us with purpose, a desire to seek, to build, to grow, to love. You created us with a thirst that only you can quench, a hunger that only you can fill, and a vision only you can accomplish. We ask for the power of your Spirit to go before us, each one of us, in the decision we make. We pray for an anointing on 29 Palms and the surrounding regions. And we pray that we would not just be known for the military base or the national park or a back way to Vegas, but for a community that is filled with grace, mercy, and compassion. Loving each other as we do ourselves, protecting the least of these, restoring family, encouraging the individual, and furthering the growth of our city. We want to thank you, Lord Jesus, for what you have done so far, and we know you can do abundantly more than we ask, think, or imagine. Help us to think what you would do when making decisions that affect people. Help us to stand in faith, loving what is good, hating what is evil. We pray for the faith that has died or been misled or snatched away to be restored, that we would be a people group that stand on your principles. We thank you for the men and women who serve in this community in a position of authority. We thank you.
Will be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may live stream this meeting by going to the website, clicking meeting agenda link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Trash for Cash presentation. Tim, if you could go meet them at the podium and bring up the 29 Palms High School Impact Host Club. Is anybody here from the high school Impact Host Club? No? Okay. Anybody here from the Explorer Scouts Post 509? I believe there is.
On behalf of the City of 29 Palms and Burtech, we would like to extend our gratification to you guys for helping to clean up our community and serving our community. If you'd like, I'd like to, if you guys want to let us know where you cleaned up at.
We cleaned up on the corners of the end of what's called Lucky Park, and cleaned up the trash area about maybe a mile of the trash where the, I'm sorry, can't remember the street off, but we cleaned up the desert, make it look more presentable for our community and for the desert wildlife.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for your community service. Let's give them a round of applause. And so on behalf of the City of 29 Palms and Burtech, we have 2 checks for you guys for your dedication.
Okay, we have a couple of proclamations to read. Right over here, yeah. Good. Okay, this is City of 29 Palms Proclamation, Juneteenth Independence Day 2026, whereas Juneteenth is known as Juneteenth Independence Day Emancipation Day, Emancipation Celebration, and Freedom Day is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of the slavery in the United States and has been celebrated by the black community for over 150 years. And whereas and a time for reflection, rejoicing, a time of assessment, self-improvement, and for planning the future. And whereas residents are encouraged to join together in celebration of freedom, family, and community by embodying a spirit of peace, respect, brotherly love, to honor and salute our city, our rich cultural legacy and diversity. Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of the City of Twentynine Palms does hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth Independence Day. We, upon residents, take this opportunity to learn more about the past, better understand the experiences that have shaped the United States, and recognize observance of the end of the slavery as part of the history, the heritage of the United States, dated this 19th day of June 2026. And this is for you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for this presentation on behalf of the Women of Color Global. We thank you. Till next year.
Till next year. Okay, Mr. Williams, come on up. Okay, City of Twentynine Palms Proclamation, LGBTQ plus Pride Month 2026. Whereas the City of Twentynine Palms is a welcoming community and an exceptional place to live, work, and visit. And whereas the nation is founded on principle and every individual has infinite dignity and worth, the City of Twentynine Palms Council, the Twentynine Palms City Council, calls upon the people of this municipality to embrace the principle and work to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists. And whereas, while society at large increasingly support LGBTQ plus equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas the City of Twentynine Palms commends the bravery and courage of those in the community, the LGBTQ plus community, who face adversity in various forms of violence, continued opposition towards LGBTQ plus peoples, make it important for neighbors to stand up and show solidarity and support to our LGBTQ plus residents and the community at large. Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of the City of Twentynine Palms hereby proclamation June 2026 be the LGBTQ Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ and community. We call upon the residents of Twentynine Palms to recognize the achievements of the LGBTQ plus community and celebrate the great diversity of our community, dated this 23rd day of June 2026. Thank you.
I would just like to say on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community, thank you to the city for recognizing Pride Month, and also for recognizing our contributions to make society a better place for all.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Moving on, update of Groundwork Arts on the Mural project, Freedom Plaza. Is she here? Yeah, she's here.
Good evening, City Council members, city staff, and community. I wanted to give you a brief update on the Twentynine Palms tile mural. Oh, thank you, for Freedom Plaza. As a reminder, the tile mural project is a permanent ceramic mural at the civic heart of the city at Freedom Plaza. It is driven by students and the community, and it is not made by one artist, but hundreds of artists, and it is very much a collaborative project. Staff, we don't need to worry about lead staff, but I did want to let the council members and the city and community know that we have added additional advisors on who have been there, done that. So Crooked Tree Ceramics in Tucson, Arizona. The first slide that we showed here, they're in Tucson. As you can see, it's not your traditional tile mural, square tiles. They're individually created and pieced together. Also, Julie Bender from San Pedro did a entire block long tile mural on a retaining wall. We sought the advice of both of these artists. There was some concern about the durability, longevity of the tile mural, and that was incredibly important. So we have confirmation from them that we are moving in the right direction in terms of materials and installation. Timeline has been adjusted slightly. We are on track with our youth and community workshops. We've decided not to rush things too much. We have a responsibility to complete community workshops by September 30th. We applied for 2 grants from the California Arts Council. Those must be completed by September 30th. We did start our first community workshops with students this past Monday. After we've completed the workshops that are required by the California Arts Council, we will again take our time with the mural assembly and also with the installation, working very closely with the city. This is probably my favorite part, and I'm going to try to speak quickly. One of the things that was incredibly important to us is that the community really truly did participate in providing information. We did a community survey. We received 1,563 results, TK through 12th grade and the community. And these were the themes that came up, some of which you will be familiar with: nature and desert landscape. Creativity and imagination was at the top of the list. One of the things I thought was most important was this idea of community and belonging. History and heritage, which a lot of our oasis of our murals in the city of 29 Palms speak to, but also the growth and future generations. I think the part that I was most inspired by, we asked the question, what do you want people to feel when you look at this mural? And the top 3 resounding responses were they want people to feel welcome, inspired, and connected. And that may seem simple, but right now in this day and age, I think that that's incredibly important. The other parts, symbols and imagery, desert animals, desert plants will incorporate. But one of the things that came up from the students is incorporating words, words that reflect 29, words of affirmation, words that are positive. You may recall from a previous presentation, the Hidden Garden Steps in San Francisco incorporated stamped words in the tiles. Instead of names, we're going to be using phrases. This is what got me, and I feel super excited about. The overall idea is this idea, we are 29. And some of the phrases that came up were, we are stronger together, we are grounded, we are the future, we are limitless, we are dreamers, we are innovators, we are resilient, we are resourceful. We are definitely resourceful. We are persistent, we are tradition and tomorrow, we are future leaders, we are full of possibility. This was, for me personally, very inspiring. So in addition to the imagery, we will also be incorporating some of the language from the students in the community in the tile mural. I did have show and tell. I don't know if it's appropriate or not. I have some sample tiles. No, yes.
Do you want to see? Sure.
Can I show you sample tiles? Yeah, there we go. So Lulu, you want to help me? Okay. One of the most important things is that these tiles are durable. Just share them. So we have, want to see them? Color, around that way. Some of the color palette, the clay body, the glaze. Yeah, you want to try and break it? Go ahead and try to break it.
No, you can't?
Looking on it.
Yeah.
Pieces?
Don't break it, Mr. Mayor.
She told me to. Wait, can I use this on it? Just kidding.
I don't know if some of the community wants to see they're not your traditional tiles.
No. Hey, it's one of your pears.
My prickly pears?
Oh yeah, all the pieces of prickly pear will go together. There's some more sculptural
Don't
pieces.
encourage them.
I wanted to share that with you because there was some concern that we were going to do square tiles that kids just went crazy marking on and they wouldn't look so great. But we also wanted the kids to have their own creativity involved. So these are examples of some of those pieces. And we started the clay tile workshops last Monday in Morongo Unified School District. Tallulah was there today at Oasis working with TK through 6th graders. Tallulah, do you have that? So what we've learned is that TK have a little bit of trouble cutting tiles out, so we had one of our high school students do some 3D printed, basically cookie cutters, so they can have a general shape, and then they can create their own off of that. We will be doing the Future Rock workshops at all elementary schools, high schools, home groups, patriotic call, etc. So I wanted to share this with you in response to the not square tiles scribbled on. All of these kids are making their own individual tiles. Some are varying in quality. This is an example of a famous painting by Vermeer, but if you can see carefully, it's done with buttons and baubles and keychains and detritus. But what makes it amazing is that the color unifies the overall design. So that will essentially be what happens with the kids' tiles. Like, there might not be brown bunnies, there might be blue bunnies and purple bunnies, and they might be in the sky or the sunset, but they'll all come together in a unified image. We will work with our professional artists to organize the tiles into sections. We'll mount it on backer board and work very carefully with the licensed contractor. We were able to meet with our city manager, Kevin Cole, and we'll work with him to identify a contractor to appropriately install the tile. One of the big questions was, where is it going to go? The city voted, the community voted, and the #1 choice was the National Park Center North Wall. So that is to the left of the visitor center door. The second, very close second, was front of the stage, low wall. I personally like that because it's front and center, but if any of you have been at Freedom Plaza, you know that the skateboarders skate on the edge. And maybe at some point in the future, once we get this one under our belts, we can consider doing something with that front wall. This is, again, the visitor center wall. It's quite large. It won't be square. So it will be in that space in the center, but it will have an organic shape so that we can counterbalance the harshness, no disrespect, but the harshness of Freedom Plaza. It's a little bit square, a little bit cold, so we'll have the organic mural in that space there. I just wanted to say this comes from our community, this comes from our students. We are Twentynine, we are rooted in community, we grow through creativity and connection. We look toward the future with hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I am encouraged that when I first heard about this, I thought it was just going to be square tiles with kids painting on them. The other thing is, I think this could be a lot of interest, because if they can put a bunch of rocks up on Interstate 15 and make a road to go over there so people can look at a bunch of rocks, painted rocks that are stacked up, this is going to be way better. So, that thing's cool too, I guess. But anyway, I think it's going to be a good project. Okay, council comments, reports, and meetings attended. Councilmember Bellarine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This past weekend, I was, put in order. I attended the flag raising ceremony for Juneteenth at City Hall, and then participated and audience member for the Juneteenth celebration by Women of Global Color at Knott Sky Park, and what else? Also attended 3 All-Star games, or Twentynine All-Star teams in Banning. 4 of our teams are making their way to the championship game this week, so we'll see if they take some banners home. And that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Ramirez.
I attended the CMC Foundation dinner. I also attended the Juneteenth flag raising ceremony. I met with them various times, but I also met with multiple transitional and temporary housing organizations and the San Bernardino Office of Homeless Services leadership team, basically to discuss what are the next steps within our community, but also keeping in mind the direction that the state is pushing us with Prop 36, and also being mindful of the new funding sources that are going to come out through the Encampment Resolution Fund, which will also cover rapid rehousing and wraparound services for homelessness in our community. I am hosting a town hall with SoCal Edison tomorrow, 6 p.m. It was supposed to be here, but we are having to do the upgrades for SB 707. Yes, okay, for SB 707, which is state mandated. So the town hall will be hosted at 74325 Joe Davis Here in California, we'll be talking about grid reliability, sustainability, what's in the future, PSPs, and then a whole bunch of new programs that they're rolling out that could really benefit our community, including being able to swap out some appliances, fridge, stove, and air conditioners for energy efficient ones. And I do have an update on the VOCA funding. Some people have been following my efforts. I got into this because Partners Against Violence, which is a victim advocate organization that we have here, let me know that they were slated, our region was slated to receive a 43% budget cut from the state funding. So basically, the Victims of Crime Act offers victim advocacy services to victims of crimes such as sexual assault, domestic violence, or any other violent crimes. And I'm very proud to report that after significant advocacy from victim service providers, community leaders, and legislators, the California State Senate did approve a one-time $25 million increase for VOCA funding instead of the proposed cuts. I would also like to give a thank you to Senator Valladares, Senator Ochoa Bao, and all those who helped champion this effort and fight for crime victims across California. The next part of this is, even though it's been approved, we're not done yet. This now goes to the governor's office. So the governor has to approve this. There's been some press conferences that have been held that say he's still going to cut it regardless of what the Senate has proposed and what all of the advocacy groups are proposing. So I strongly urge you to reach out, do your research, and if you can, write a letter to support our Victims of Crime Act funding for this region. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first, I apologize to everyone that I didn't get to be at the Juneteenth flag raising or the event. I had to go to Oklahoma City and check on the parents and pick my son up and bring him back because we got to get ready for Warhawks football. So had to do all that good stuff. But
something to do with football, Steve.
yes, and I just want to take this time. Our high school sweetheart's birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday, Miss Alfreda Wright.
Happy birthday for you. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Scott.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I attended a meeting with you, of course, with a company called Groundwork, who is wanting to build tiny homes in our community. I thought it was a very fruitful discussion. I attended the Juneteenth flag raising ceremony here at City Hall and participated in the Juneteenth celebration that was hosted by women of color at Knott Sky Park. And I also attended the Marine Officer COM course graduation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right. So I started out with, went to Victorville for the Mountain Desert Measure I meeting. Our city engineer, Richard, he hit them up to come up with another $180,000 from Measure I money for the bridge that's going across Split Rock. So that was a good thing because of the development needed more. Went to the Kiwanis 43rd annual pancake breakfast, and also was at the meeting Mayor Pro Tem and the city manager and the community development director for the tiny homes. So very educational with that. Interesting. Also attended the Juneteenth flag raising in front, and also at Knott Sky Park for the Women of Global Color. Yesterday was the Mojave Desert Air Quality Air District. Pretty exciting news for the city of Barstow. They're getting a $4 billion rail transfer station that's going to be built. It's going to get ready to get started. It took them 6 years to get this pushed through. The Air Quality Board there was very instrumental in helping them getting through all the CEQA and environmental stuff through the state. And they also were the only ones that have been able to get the governor's pass on the 149. So it's going to be a really big project for this railroad. They're going to have partial diesel, but it's also going to have some electric. They don't have the technology yet to do a total electric train yet, but it is. I guess they're working on that. They're estimated that they're going to get 15,000 jobs out of that, both part-time and full-time. And these are union jobs. These aren't jobs that just people, they can make a living off doing this. And the city's going to make a pretty big windfall. But we got a little bit of education. I'll be brief. But the stuff used to go off the boat in Long Beach, get shipped to the Inland Empire, get split up at warehouses. What needed to go back to the coast would get shipped back on rail or by the truck back to L.A., get on a train in L.A., and then go back to Barstow and then out of the state. Now it's going to go directly, the whole thing will go from railroad from Long Beach to Barstow, get split up, and then go in the directions it needs to go. It's going to cut 800,000 truck routes out. So it's going to be very significant with air quality. That's why the Mojave Desert Air Quality was so involved in it, because obviously the more cars you take off the road, the more pollution there isn't. So anyway, that was pretty exciting news for Barstow, and the air quality board that I'm on was helped them a lot over the last 6 years. So anyway. Okay, let's move on to consent calendar. Oh, see, I gotta highlight it just like I did this now. I'll highlight that. I'm sorry. I apologize, Mr. City Manager.
No problem at
It's
all.
only the second time we did this, so.
So I have a couple updates. One, I wanted to mention, as Councilmember Ramirez said, we'll be doing renovations here in the council chambers starting tomorrow, and hopefully have them completed, or at least functionally complete, by our July 14th meeting. What that means is in this coming month, our planning commission meetings are probably going to be canceled, and maybe a few other meetings. I'm not sure about TBID and the Public Arts Advisory Council. So, but we'll be making those announcements as they come up. Secondly, I wanted to remind everybody, or let everybody know, that here in Twentynine Palms, our cooling center is the senior center. And it's at 6539 Adobe Road. We don't always open it, but when the heat index gets up to 110 degrees, we'll be opening the cooling center. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be 110 degrees outside. What it means is it could be, 98, but with the humidity, could take it up to 110 index. That is lower than what we've done in the past. In the past, we've had 115 degree heat index where we open that, but we'll open it and it'll stay open until it gets cooler. And we'll use, just for everybody's information, we'll use the weather information from the National Weather Service to make those determinations. So your phone may say something different, but we're using the National Weather Service. So thirdly, I'd like to inform everybody that on Thursday, June 25th, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is having a blood drive, and that's at the sheriff's station out in Joshua Tree, 63665 Twentynine Palms Highway in Joshua Tree. So come on out and donate blood. It's always needed. Great. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Thank you. Fourthly, I will make the announcement that the nomination period for anyone wanting to run for City Council begins on July 13th and ends on August 6th. If you're interested, please call the City Hall and make an appointment with our City Clerk, Cindy Viescas, and she'll get you set up with the procedure and all the nomination requirements and campaign rules and fundraising rules. And she'll set you up with all that. So, but you need to call, make an appointment with her. It ends on August 6th, which is, it's actually a Thursday, but we'll be submitting everything to the Register of Voters after that. Fifth, I would like to announce that the Great Race is coming to Twentynine Palms. And what that is, it's called the Hemmings Great Race, presented by Coker Tires. It's a 9-day classic car rally that spans more than 2,300 miles and features 120 of the world's finest antique automobiles. It's hosted, the event uses a new route each year and features 17 hosted city stops along the way, including a hosted stop in Twentynine Palms. It's this Saturday, June 27th, from 11:30 to 3, I think. For 2026, the Great Race is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Mother Road with a Route 66 themed event that starts in Springfield, Illinois on Saturday, June 20th and ends in Pasadena on Sunday, June 28th, with many historic towns and attractions along the way. So that's down in Lucky Park from 11:30 to 3, and they have food vendors and family-friendly activities going on, and you can get up and see the cars up close as they come in. So it's be a great family event. They're currently seeking volunteers. If you want to get involved in something, you can call the Park and Recreation Department at 760-367-7562, extension 1025, and they'll set you up and if you want to volunteer for that. And right on the heels of that, we have the 4th of July. The City of Twentynine Palms Park and Recreation Department invites residents and visitors to ring in Independence Day at a free 4th of July celebration on Saturday, July 4th, 2026 from 6 to 10 p.m. at Knott Sky Park. In honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, the Kiwanis Club of Twentynine Palms will share a special reading of the Declaration of Independence, which would be pretty cool. The evening offers family-friendly fun, capped off by a fireworks show. Fireworks viewing party as the show lights up the sky over nearby Tortoise Rock Casino. There'll be some water slides and a photo booth and some other food vendors and stuff out there. It'll be a fun time, so everybody should come out to Knott Sky Park for the 4th of July. And finally, one more thing. I wanted to give a shout out to our code enforcement team. They completed a cleanup of a house in the Sherman Hoyt property, and they removed over 1,000 tires out of that property and several tons of trash. So, I mean, it's something they've been working on for a while. These things take a while, but I just want to give shout out to them because it was a great cleanup. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the city manager? Okay, see none. Ma'am, did you have a comment request? Bring on up to Cindy. No worries. Okay. Consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion from the form listed. Any form may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the city council. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on consent calendar items prior to the city council action. Does anybody want any items pulled from the consent calendars? Looks like we got one. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to open this to the public. I have one slip for item number 7. Carlos Landon.
Hi, Carlos Blannon. I approved the Hatch Road and Sullivan Road Bike Pack project for contract inspection. Over the past month, I joined a rapidly growing bicycle community called the Basin Bike Path. This local organization is run by Eric Linner, great guy. And I also had the opportunity to meet an emerging high desert bicycle shop called Gypsy Cycle. This indicates a significant demand for cycling in the high desert area. However, we are concerned about the unsafe roads and sandy river paths that hinder a healthy, safe, and cycling experience. Therefore, securing funding and approval for a more cycling infrastructure will greatly benefit the city of Twentynine Palms. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have no other slips. Bring it back to council. Looking for a motion.
I move the consent calendar.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Ramirez,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Councilmember Bilderring,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Scott,
Aye.
Mayor Mintz.
All right.
Approved 5-0.
Okay, no items were removed, so we got public hearing number 14, proposed budget revisions for the special revenue funds, the capital project funds, and successor agency fund for the fiscal year 2026-27, and this does not include Project Phoenix funds. Abigail.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, members of this community. Oh, wait. Thank you. Let me test it first. Okay, perfect. Okay, so tonight I'll be presenting the budget revisions to the special revenue funds, capital project funds, and successor agency fund for fiscal year 26-27. And to give you a little bit of a context, I would like to start by providing an overview of the city's fund structure and government accounting. A fund is defined as a fiscal and accounting entity with a self-balancing set of accounts segregated for the purpose of carrying on specific activities or complying with special regulations, restrictions, or limitations. The city has a total of 18 funds, which fall under one of the categories listed on this table. The city has one general fund, which is the city's chief operating fund, and the budget revisions to that fund were approved on May 26th of this year. In terms of special revenue funds, these funds are established by city council or other agencies to collect money that must be used for specific project or purposes. These funds provide an extra level of accountability and transparency to taxpayers and or ratepayers that their tax dollars will go towards an intended purpose. In terms of capital project funds, these funds account for financial resources used for the acquisition of major capital facilities and other capital related projects other than those financed in the proprietary fund types. Proprietary funds are used by government entities to account for activities that are similar to business type activities. These funds are used when government provides services to public or other government agencies on a cost reimbursement basis. Proprietary funds are categorized into two main types: enterprise funds or internal service funds. And fiduciary funds account for resources that are held in a trustee or agency capacity for others and cannot be used to support the city's own programs. Fiduciary funds are categorized into four types: pension and other post-employment benefit trust funds, investment trust funds, private purpose trust funds, and custodial funds. This chart shows all of the funds that the city has. As I mentioned, we have one general fund. We do have 10 special revenue funds, which include the CDBG fund, the newly added Elm Avenue Project Fund, Gas Tax Fund, Measure I Fund, and other funds as listed on that table. We also have 5 capital project funds, 1 enterprise fund, and 1 private purpose trust fund. For today's presentation, we'll be focusing on the special revenue funds and capital project funds with exclusion of Project Phoenix funds and the sewer fund. Let's see. The number of city funds that the city manages on a given year varies depending on funding availability or changes in regulations, as was the case with Article 8 funding, which was terminated back in fiscal year 21-22 when the state redirected those funds to transit agencies instead of municipalities. A total of $14.2 million in expenditures and transfers out has been budgeted for fiscal year 26-27, of which $11.4 million will be funded with revenues and transfers in received through the special revenue funds and capital project funds. There are no budget revisions to the successor agency fund. So for the revenues and transfers and sources received through this funds that I just mentioned, we have tax revenue, grants, fees, and other revenue like grants, interest revenue, and also transfers in from the general fund. Some of the tax revenue sources that we get are from the road maintenance and rehabilitation account program, the gas tax, and Measure I funding. As I mentioned, we'll receive a total of $2.2 million in fiscal year 26-27. And the funding for those, and the sources for those funds are very restrictive. We cannot use them for other projects that have not been previously approved by either SBCTA or the funding agency. And this is just the history for the gas tax and the RMRA funding over a period of 9 years. For fiscal year 26-27, RMRA funding is projected to increase by 6%, and gas tax is projected to increase by only 2%. So not a lot, not a big increase there. For RMRA funds, we submitted the request for funding for fiscal year 26-27. Our project and the list of streets provided here was approved. And so this is the list of projects that, or the list of roads that we have to overlay in the upcoming fiscal year. For major capital project funds, we have a total of about $13.3 million, and that includes street projects, parks, safety, and other projects. A total of about $1.2 million will be used to overlay streets within the city, $854,000 for street repairs and maintenance projects, $501,000 for the SR62 street improvement Phase 2B project, $150,000 for street improvements throughout the city, and $90,000 for curb gutter and sidewalk projects. In terms of parks projects, we have two main ones, which is the city-wide channel trail, and that's $477,000, and that's just for the design. We haven't received the approval of funding for the construction phase. And $341,000 for Lucky Park improvements through the CDBG program. In terms of safety projects, we have two main ones, the Split Rock Bridge, which will be funded with grants from SBCTA and Caltrans, and that's projected at $4.2 million. That's just a construction phase and project management cost. And then the Hatch Sullivan Bike Path, which is estimated at $3.7 million. For other projects, we have the design for the new animal shelter for $589,000, and also $178,000 for the animal control building upgrades. Those fundings have been approved in prior years, but we haven't utilized all the funding, so we continue to carry over those funds until the project gets completed. We are projecting or proposing $226,000 for re-roof of city-owned buildings, and $196,000 for improvements at the senior center. So the recommendation for tonight, we have three. And the recommendation is for City Council to approve the resolution adopting the budget revisions for the special revenue funds, capital project funds, and the successor agency fund for fiscal year 26-27, and approve the interfund transfers for that same year, $10,000 from the gas tax fund to the general fund, $28,000 from the Measure I fund to the general fund, and $27,040 from the successor agency fund to the general fund, and those are just to cover administrative costs associated with managing those funds. The other change is in terms of the 25-26 budget. There were a couple of adjustments that needed to be made for that budget that were not known at the time I brought the mid-year budget adjustment back in February of this year. So we have a few adjustments to the General Capital Projects Fund, and we are also establishing the Elm Avenue Project Fund in fiscal year 25-26 and its corresponding budget. And I'm open for any questions.
Yep. Anybody have any questions? I do have one question about the Elm project. The other ones you have an administrative fee. So after you establish that as in the budget, you'll do an administrative fee for that?
I'm allocating 10% of staff time to that fund because we are going to spend time, you know, collecting.
I didn't see the line.
I'm not doing it as a transfer, but more like a direct allocation of city staff time.
And that'd be
up
in
to
the Elm
10%.
budget. Okay.
Correct. That's
Great.
yes.
Oh, okay, please wait. Okay, so any other questions for staff up here?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I noticed that there was, in the Capital Projects Fund, there was $45,000 allocated for City Hall structure. At one point, I believe we had a discussion that maybe, are we talking about the front of City Hall?
Yeah, we haven't really received direction as to what we want to do with those funds. I mean, I'm putting it there because the project hasn't been completed and we still have the funds. So if you decide to, in the future, reallocate those funds, you can, and we'll just change the description or reallocate those funds to a different account. But it's definitely there. But if the city hall structure is not something that City Council wants to do, we can definitely have that discussion.
We just haven't changed it yet, what we're gonna do with the money.
But we don't want to do it, right?
We haven't decided that. That's the
Okay.
whole, it's been in limbo.
All right.
We stopped it from going any further like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and we just hasn't been brought up since.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Abigail.
no problem.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm gonna open the public hearing. And do I have any slips for the public hearing for this item on the agenda? Okay, ma'am, you had a question, but you didn't put a slip in. Do you have a question? Yes. Finance director, yes, ma'am. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have to do it in order. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got no slips and nobody coming up, so we're gonna close the public hearing and come back to this council discussion.
When the item comes up?
Yeah, it was item.
Number 16.
When item 16 comes up, we'll call you then.
Okay. Do we have questions for Abigail?
I have a couple and then I'll. Miss Abigail, when I'm looking at your presentation, which was a great presentation, by the way, I notice a lot of our projects are being funded through Measure I funding.
Not the project, the actual construction phase, but the project management. So things that, like for example, if we hire a consultant, and currently we have Charles Abbott and Associates doing a lot of the project management. So like Richard Pedersen, right? So he's spending time on these projects like Split Rock Bridge. But for grants, you only get a certain percentage for project management costs. So we have to find other sources to be able to fund that the cost, because otherwise it will come out of the general fund money.
So is it safe to say that Measure I funding is not a long-term sustainability, financially sustainable solution for all the projects that we want?
Well, Measure I funding is very restrictive. So if the funding is not available, then we have to find other sources. I do have to say that recently the city manager brought, I don't know if it was presented as a consent item, but a representative from SBCTA requested a letter of support for Measure I funding to be extended, because Measure I, the current funding is available through 2040. And the city council approved a letter of support to increase the funding availability. I can't remember for how many more years.
Right,
So
they want to make it a sunset, the SBTCA wants to make it a sunset measure. It's to be on the November ballot, make it sunset. And if the voters vote that in, then it'll just be unless somebody puts it back on the ballot to end it. So in other words, right now, the way the funding works, SBTCA they'll do major big projects, like hundreds of $1 million projects, and they'll get bonds for those. And so they have to plan for them like years ahead. So if the funding ends in 2040, they have to stop planning for this stuff. And then, so that's why they want to make it a sunset, because every time they put this on the ballot, it passes by 80%. Because the money, it stays in San Bernardino County, and it gets spent very well. I mean, it's a well-run organization.
So I would.
I have faith in them. I guess what I'm saying is Measure I is not a secure funding that we can count on forever and ever, and it will not.
None of the fundings from the special revenue funds are secure.
Are secure funding.
None of them are. A clear example that I mentioned was the Article 8 funding. So Article 8 funding used to fund about 50% of public works salaries and benefits. When that funding went away was fiscal year 21-22, the state reallocated the Article 8 funding to transit agencies. So what the city had to do is absorb the funding, the salaries and benefits, that 50% essentially. So none of the special revenue funds or the capital project funds are secure. Like there's no, in perpetuity funding, if you will.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to hold off on my other one. Go ahead, Mac. Then I have one more question. I was trying to figure out how to word this. Around slide 3 or 4, you said a very specific statement. which was completion of these projects depends on funding availability. I've seen that through the state, sometimes projects that we think should be done like that take 12 to 15 years to be done. And if this was, if, let's just say, for example, using Measure I, let's say the voters don't vote for it this time, and it does close in 2040. And our project isn't going to be complete. That's 15 years. Let's say we need more time, or something goes wrong, or the state pushes in new mandates, right? Where does that money come from to complete the projects if we don't have it?
Well, it depends. We have other funding sources. There's a lot of what ifs in that question. But I mean, worst case scenario, it'll come out of the general fund, or the city council can decide to abandon that project. I mean, it's happened in the past where, for example, the city's wastewater project, it was, I believe the original funding sources that was promised to the city was over $159 million. And when the state, when it was all said and done, the funding was like cut down to $50 million. So city council recognized that there was no way that the city could continue to fund that project. So yes, up to the design phase, the costs were funded by the grants, but then we just decided to abandon the project, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just, we move on until we get more funding available. But that doesn't mean that when you start a project, you have to finish it if you don't have funding. It's just not fiscally responsible to do so.
Correct.
I would add to that it doesn't even have to be something catastrophic that stops the funding, but simply the rising cost of these projects affects how much project we can get. So, we're talking about some road projects and that kind of stuff here. Price of oil goes up, which we're all seeing right now, $6 a gallon for gasoline. Well, that affects the price of asphalt. And so as these prices go up, these funding mechanisms generally don't.
So in your professional opinion, what do you think needs to happen in order to make sure that we don't have to abandon projects? Because I'm not going to start something and not finish it. What would you say financially is the most sustainable option long term?
Well, it just depends. You really have to treat each project on a case-by-case basis. I can't answer something like that. It has to be very project-specific. But again, abandoning the project is one option, and then the other is looking for additional funding sources, grants. Those are mainly the two options.
Potentially the tax measure that we're going to talk about, item 16.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, nobody else? I'll look for motion.
What number? Okay, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2620, adopting the budget revision for special revenue funds, excluding Project Phoenix funds, capital project funds, and successor agency fund for fiscal year 26-27. Also, inter-fund transfer for fiscal year 26-27 for $10,000 from the gas tax fund to the general fund for admin fees, $20,000 from the Measure I fund to the general fund for admin fees, $27,040 from the successor agency fund to the general fund for admin fees, and changes to the fiscal year 25-26 budget for the following funds: amendments to the general capital project fund, and establishment and adoption of the new Elm Avenue project fund and related budget.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Y'all
Seeing
like how I
none.
read all that?
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Councilmember Buildering,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Scott,
Aye.
Mayor Mintz.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 15 is proposed budget for revised Project Phoenix funds and enterprise fund for the fiscal year 2026-27, and I will be abstaining from this, and I'll be leaving the room. Mayor Pro Tem Scott.
Ready? Okay. Well, hello again. So moving on to the Project Phoenix funds and the Enterprise Fund. This presentation is not too long. There's not much activity going on in these funds, but just to provide an overview, the Project Phoenix funds account for the activities associated with the city's downtown revitalization project. And the sewer fund was created to account for the cost of providing sewer services to a limited number of businesses within the Freedom Plaza, as well as the activities associated with the Project Phoenix package treatment plant. In terms of the Project Phoenix funds, as of today, we have $204,000 left from the $2.3 million previously committed for this project. And then there's also $1.1 million from the housing bond proceeds, which these funds can only be spent for affordable housing activities. And some of the projects that remain open for Project Phoenix, we have the business loan program for the storefront improvement program, public arts, street furniture, site improvements, and facility fixtures. And if you recall, at the beginning of this year, City Council approved the reallocation of the $15,000 funds for the public art. There's the tile mural that was just presented today. And $18,000 of that project will be funded by a grant from the City Council, from California Arts Council. In terms of the sewer fund, we have a couple of big projects that we're working on right now. We have the USGS study, and then we also have the package treatment plant. For the USGS study, is going to be a 5-year study, and we currently have $1.9 million from Stack 1 and Stack 2, and also $200,000 contribution from the Twentynine Pumps Water District. We do have an this project is underfunded by almost $99,000, but the city will be working closely with the Twentynine Palms Water District and also USGS to find or to implement cost-cutting measures to make sure that we either eliminate or reduce this shortfall. And like I said, it's not a big presentation, but I am requesting the approval of the resolution to adopt the budget revisions for the Project Phoenix funds and Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 26-27, as well as the interfund transfers for the general fund and the sewer fund for fiscal year 26-27, which includes $70,000 to subsidize the sewer fund and $25,000 for a sewer fee study.
Okay, let's open up public hearing. Any discussion? Any green slips? Okay, bring it back up here. Close public hearing. Okay, roll call. Motion. Looking for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2621. All right, got it right. Approving the budget revision for Project Phoenix funds and Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 26-27, and interfund transfer from the general fund to the sewer fund for fiscal year 26-27 for $70,000 to subsidize the operating costs of this fund and $25,000 for a sewer rate study.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilwoman Ramirez.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Buildering.
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Scott.
Aye.
Mayor Mintz abstains.
Well, Mayor Mintz is coming back up. I just want to make a quick comment. That USGS study is proceeding. Had a meeting with the USGS as well as our local water district, and they're making progress on it. And that study, hopefully, for the public is going to help inform us as to when, if ever, we are going to need a sewer system. And I think that that's going to be money well spent for this community.
Thank you. Okay, discussion, potential action items. Number 16, update to the local sales tax ballot measure for November 3rd, 2026 general election. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, I want to bring this item forward again. We had a discussion at the last city council meeting, and I want to give the public every opportunity to participate in this conversation. There seemed to be maybe some confusion surrounding this, and I just want the public to understand that the council is putting this on the ballot for the voter to decide whether this is something that is good for 29 Palms. And I think it's important to note that the council isn't imposing this this potential tax. The citizens will vote on that. We had earlier discussions about potential project shortfalls. Certainly our general service levels that we provide of roads, parks, animal control, public safety are all concerns where where costs are going up and our revenues are staying flat. And try as we might, we're trying to increase our revenues at every opportunity, but that's challenging also. And so we're trying to be as frugal as we can and providing city services, but this sales tax measure will go a long way towards helping us provide the services, the quality of life services that people expect of a city. There was polling that was done that suggested that some of the main areas that are important to people are public safety, of course, our sheriff's contract, our animal control. We currently have an aging building that is, dare I say, falling down around their ears, and we're going to have to do something about it, up to and including, if possible, building a new one. And then we always are in the hunt to be able to maintain roads in the community, and we just talked about some of those special funds that help fund roads. Those numbers are not going up, but our streets continue to take a beating here, and both with our flooding issues and just the nature of roads in this extreme climates. One of the things that I point out when we talk about roads, we also are talking about flood control, in that in our community, a lot of our flood control channels end up being the roads. We try to direct the water onto the road to get it to the flood control, the ultimate flood control channel. So, when we talk about roads, we're also talking about our flood control and drainage here, and then, of course, we had gentlemen talk about our, another area of quality of life, and that's our parks and the implementation of biking trails and hiking trails here. And it's certainly something that we would like to provide the citizenry with quality facilities in those areas too. So these are the areas where that polled high, but I believe, and I'll let you talk about this, but I believe that there are also areas that the council consider very important, and those are the places where this money would be spent.
Well, yes. Well, speaking of grant and bike paths and walking paths, the one we have along the drainage ditch right down from City Hall here, when you get asked for those grants, the people with the grant money, they expect you to put some money into the race also, and we have to put money up. I don't recall now. I think it was at least $100,000, but they put up another $100,000 or $200,000. But we have to put up some money to get these grants sometimes. So it's just not free money all the time. Sometimes most of it is, but 90% of the time we have to put in a percentage of the project. Like that bridge project, we had to put in money for that. But obviously the federal government paid for most of it. But but those are the kind of things, if we don't put money into ourselves as a community, then people are like, well, maybe they don't want it so bad. So
additionally, when it comes to grants, we as a staff have to manage those grants. So there's always a cost to getting that money. And lots of it's good money for specific uses, but it does cost in the way of staff time, sometimes property, those kinds of things. So there's always some kind of
Well,
cost.
we voted on, using administrative money just in our budget, just all in tonight, so. Anybody got more comments for city staff before we go to the public?
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I appreciate, that, explaining how the tax system is going to work and that it goes on the ballot. I just want to add too, we have a lot of visitors that come to our city, and a lot of my constituents, they do have, I won't say a lot, but I've talked to many constituents who, they're concerned about a 1% tax, and we understand that there's a lot of services that we need in the city and a lot of infrastructure that needs to be maintained and repaired. But a lot of the visitors that come to this city, they're also going to be paying into that tax. They're driving on our roads. They stop at the gas station. They grab some food. They get some gas. And I think that's important, especially in the economy that we live in right now, where we have a lot of people who are online shopping. And unfortunately, smaller cities like 29 Palms, we don't really get that revenue from online shopping. So this is one opportunity for us to increase those revenues. And so, again, it's not the city council or the city that's imposing that tax. This is for the voters to decide, and I trust the voters.
Okay, anybody else before we go to public comment?
Hey, one more thing I'd say, Mr. Mayor, if I can. The city has a long history of doing a lot with what we are able to collect. We've always been financially responsible when it comes to managing our funding. Year after year, we get awards for our financial record keeping and those kinds of things. But we've always been prudent when it comes to using the funds that we are able to secure. So I wouldn't expect that would change with this, and I want to assure the public that it won't change. If this additional money comes to the city, we will continue to be prudent with it and do the things that we need to do for these quality of life issues.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna open this to get public comment. Mary Alice, do you have a slip?
I'm not exactly sure how this all works, so I apologize for if you think I've been interrupting, because I didn't know.
It's fine.
You're fine.
So like everybody else, I got one of these. Oh, greetings to all you officials and fellow citizens. I got one of these, and I read it, and I'm okay with the 1% tax increase, because we really need the help here. However, in reading this possible ballot question, it's very vague, and you have services such as. So does that mean in 5 years I can say we need to add a service, a spa service? And so it's, to me, it is, I'm questioning that it is not how it is written, and I know, I'm sure the city has some high-priced lawyers that can write this that are not so vague. So you have such as maintaining these things, which I'm all for maintaining, and providing approximately. That is not a definite number. Again, somewhere somebody smart in the future is going to start taking more money from the citizens that is supposed to be ended by voters. But that again, are they going to keep running it on? Who's going to make those elections? And then in rereading it and listening to everybody speaking, so it says basic necessities like groceries and prescription medications are not going to be taxed. So what is going to be taxed? Whoever can answer that.
I'm happy to answer those questions. I don't know if we want to do that, but so one of the things that won't change is the percentage. And one of the reasons that it says approximately is because that is based on how much is spent here in 29 Palms. Goods like hard goods, like what you get, hammers and nails at the hardware store, those kinds of things. Pretty much everything, including gasoline, everything that isn't groceries and medicine, generally has, this will apply to.
And will it also be added to property taxes?
No, property tax is a separate,
Okay.
a type of tax.
All right, thank you.
And your other question was,
Oh, what's gonna be taxed? And that the question, the way it's written, is very vague. And I was wondering if whoever writes it, puts it on the ballot, if they could be more specific, so it's not such as maintaining 9/11 response, but it would say except for the grammar, including these items. Thank you.
no, thank you for the questions, and those are great questions. Right now, there are two different types of tax that we can't, that we have the option of passing. Some that are specific. This tax that is generated, if it's a specific tax, has to be used for that specific thing. What we're proposing here is a general levy tax that could be used across the board for city services. It says such as in that flyer because these are the things that the public identified as high priorities for the public. So these are the things that we need to continue to maintain. We need to continue to maintain high level of public safety. We need to continue a high level of road service, and so those are the things such as. Now, when on July 14th is when we're going to be voting on the resolution to put this on the ballot, and we'll have a specific resolution that kind of spells out in more specific language than what you have in that brochure. So I encourage you to come and see that resolution, and it may speak to what your concern is.
After they're done. Oh, yes, go ahead. I'll write it on your slip.
I was more focused writing on the other subjects than in this one. Yeah, I support the 1% tax because, as we mentioned, are proud people at code enforcement. Code enforcement is economic development, and they need money and support from the city and city council because it takes money to go after these blighted properties. It's just not you just go up to them, give them a little slide, and it gets resolved. You have to fight them, sometimes in court, because some of these slumlords are very, I say, not responsible to their solidarities of the common good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the council. Pardon? Well, she wants.
You're welcome to have more
Yeah, council discussion.
This comment is for just a little bit more clarification to Miss Ellis. I had a hard time with the word approximately too. And in one of my discussions with the previous city manager, he explained to me that one of the reasons that we have to use the word approximately is because our economy has such a big, such a large amount of visitors annually, and that number is expected to fluctuate. So that's why, that's one of the other reasons that he explained to me that we had to use the word approximately, because it's also going to depend, it's going to depend and vary based off of our tourism numbers as well.
And the only comment I'm going to make about, if you look at the track record of this city council all the way back from 1987, the balanced budgets have been balanced, even in hard times. 2008 was tough times. There's always been reserves. The reserves, there's always been a priority to make sure there's a percentage of the revenue that comes into the city is put in reserves. So if everyone just goes back, and you can go back to the entire, and you'll see how fiscally sound this city has been. So if you're kind of worried about that, then hopefully that helps with some of your comments as far as, or some of your thoughts as how we're going to spend this money. Because again, when it comes to city government, we throw the number $2 million out there, but as you can see in some of our items, the $2 million is going to just be, help us. It's not going to be something we can just start throwing wild parties. I don't know how to explain it. And besides, with Abigail around, we don't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, anybody else? This is a receive and file. So, okay.
I would say one more thing that not only have we always, had a balanced budget, but certainly every year we have public hearings when it comes to discussing our budget, and we always encourage the public to come and talk to us about priorities that they either see that we are meeting or not meeting. So we always encourage the public and want the public to come and speak. So in terms of how we spend this money, the public is always involved in those discussions, and I'm sure if there's specific projects that come along, we'll have public hearings to be able to hear the specific concerns on those items specifically. But certainly when it comes to our budget, we always encourage the public to come and participate in those discussions. As a means for the council to hear, hey, these are our priorities, and this is where we'd like to see you spend the money. So.
Okay. All right, we'll just receive and file. Okay, future council initiated items. Is there anything, anybody need to add anything? Anybody want to take anything off? Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
But there's a couple things. I'd like to give you some updates on these particular things because I know they've been on here for a little while, and some of you are probably wondering where we are on some of it. In my time here, I've been able to do a little research on some of these things, others not as much, but I kind of just want to go down the list. We're currently working on the shade structures to see what will fit and what we potentially might have funding for. We're looking for grant funding for such things because, as we just talked about, we don't have a lot of general fund money to put towards this, but we're looking for some grant funding to be able to come up with some shade structures. And the desert shade is a valuable resource. Discussion of a policy regulating the city attorney's resources. This is an administrative policy that I'm going to institute across the board. If there's employees and particularly a council that feels like we need some city attorney resource, I want you to come to me first. Certainly, city staff has been instructed to do so. Right now, we have city attorney working in many areas that it's a pretty heavy lift when you talk about the projects that we need to have the city attorney weigh in on, policy like the 707 policy that was brought forward. Certainly code enforcement, oftentimes we need legal advice on. So there's across the city, we're trying to be, again, as prudent as possible with the resources that we have. But this is an administrative policy that I'll be watching. Discussion of creating a recognized neighborhood program. I've had numerous conversations both with planning, code enforcement, and other areas of the city. I'd like to bring something back to the council in late August, early September regarding this particular item. Perhaps to have a discussion, have some ideas about what we can do there. The next couple items, 4, 5, and 6, are all kind of tied in together. They have it has to do with homeless and housing, and again, Proposition 36 it ties into that because we have many folks that are deemed homeless, but that don't want housing. And so, and we'll continue to have further discussions on these items. Discussion about annexing parcels. These parcels on here, also known as the Set Free Ranch. We have had some discussion with legal about what we are and aren't able to do with that. Again, there's agencies that weigh in on this, including our local agency formation group, which is deemed LAFCO. They tell us, and so we're trying to explore what options we have with this. But because these two particular parcels are not contiguous with the city boundaries, it's difficult to, really impossible, according to LAFCO, to annex what they would call an island. So that means we have to go to other property that is contiguous with the city boundary, and so we're seeing what our options are there. The discussion of possible safe passage with Caltrans around Donnell Hill. We'll tell you that Caltrans did some work on the south side of that hill to clear a path to be able to walk across. There is also a dirt path on the north side that is graded, and people are able to walk there. Having said all that, I would still encourage the public not to be on that road at night. It's a dangerous situation, and if you are, please use the path to the north side of the road because you're off the actual road. I dispersed some information to the council regarding the flock cameras. I'd like y'all to take a look at that. We will be bringing this forward at a future time. I know Councilmember Scott or Mayor Pro Tem Scott is having a town hall meeting on this topic, but we'll bring this back onto the council. And then we're looking into, with that last item, looking in to make sure our municipal code is in line with the state. And so I'll bring you back an update on that. So that kind of gives you a little bit of update on all these things. Some of them, if it's all right with you, I'll take off this list, but the ones we are going to bring back, I'll leave on there.
Okay. All right, public comment. Wait, I put my glasses on. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that are not on this agenda. All comments directed to the city council shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. This is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the name, address slips, and give them to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action on discussion items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. And I have one slip here from Carlos.
Hi, Carlos Blind. Something I learned from reading Pope Leo's Magnificat Humanitas, the encyclical of his pontiff. In the past, it was largely up to the state to guide and direct innovation. Today, however, the main drivers of development are private, often transnational parties that are endowed with resources and capacity to intervene that surpasses those of many governments. Most people are watching and waiting, observing from afar, and merely hoping for the best. For this reason, the crucial question confronts our conscience and can no longer be avoided. Where are we going? Towards what goal do we wish to orient ourselves? What direction should we choose as people and as a human community? The narrative of the book of Nehemiah shows how the city is reborn, not through the initiative of one man, but through the shared responsibility of all. Men, women, priests, artisans, head of households, and young people all play a part. It is found where freedom and responsibility are intertwined with mutual care and true solidarity, and where progress is measured by the dignity of each person and the good of all peoples. Building a world in which everyone can flourish requires shared responsibility and courage. No one can single-handedly bear the weight of the challenges the world is facing, just as no one is weak as they cannot play their part. For individuals and nations alike, development is both a duty and a right. Minimum conditions are required for enabling every person and people to flourish in accord with their dignity, without keeping kept in a state of dependence or excluded from access to necessary goods. With that said, we have many private entities in this town who are squatting on prime real estate. I'm just talking about the slumlords and those long-term rentals. I'm also talking about those so-called business folks in this town who love the spotlight but don't enjoy the work. For example, they enjoy squatting on prime real estate to either hinder competition or to set up false fake shell LLCs, where they report their supposed losses. This includes SB 29 with their new admin HR suite, the shame on High Desert Retail for being part of their scheme. I guess they're lucky that their slumlord owns those 3 units. These units are never open to serve the community. For example, how are we gonna shop local and bring revenue to our city? For example, Reset Hotel alone is still using residential lands as service commercial, but you won't enforce the same policies as you hinder many other developers on rezoning. I keep hearing about the need for housing, but you let them do anything on that land except build homes. Back to private. Where is the solidarity for the common good? Where is the Magnifica Humanitas? We need code enforcement's teeth and council support. If not, this town is doomed and will always be a cul-de-sac for the slum, for the high desert, because the city has a take it or leave it mentality rather than leaving things better than you found them. This includes doing things that don't have ROI or return on investment, as some businesses say, or the story of Nehemiah. Let's build this wall together.
Okay, thank you. Tanja Maddox? Oh, I think she left. I think that was the captain who said she left, so I don't think she's here. Miss Maddox, you're not here, right? Okay. Okay, I have no other slips. So that's it for the public comment.
Make sure because you announced that we were not having a meeting on July 14th, so now we are.
Okay, so yes, now we are having a meeting. We announced that we weren't having a meeting on July 14th, but now we are going to have a meeting on July 14th because we have to talk about the tax measure. I meant to ask you, during future agenda items, are we supposed to put this policy 22 on there? Is that for the new 707? Is that just something?
No. We you adopted it in the consent.
Oh, and during consent, okay. Okay, I just wanted to know if hopefully the public please read this. There's some restrictions on when you can submit your forms. So, there is copies in the back, so please pick those up, especially the folks that use it a lot.
Once we have the technology installed, we'll certainly let the public know again, hey, this is how you go about logging in, and that kind of stuff. So once we have it installed, make sure it works the way that we hope that it will.
Okay, great. All right, we are in adjournment then.